Hello. Welcome back to Life After Plus One. I'm Leanne, your podcast host and your single parent mentor and coach. And before I dive into today's episode, I just want to first welcome all you new listeners out there. And for those of you who have just jumped on board, and for those of you who have been listening for some time, let's just clarify what we talk about here. Now, this is Life After Plus One, where, as I always say, it's where we talk about everything single parenting. And you may think, well, I don't need help with parenting. So no, it's not just about parenting. I'm not here to tell you how to parent. I'm here to help you and support you through everything you go through in the process of becoming a single parent. So it relates to anyone that's been through a breakup as a parent, someone that's got kids, and you've had to go through the process of repartnering, or you're co-parenting, or you've gone through divorce, you've gone through messy breakups, you're now a step parent. All these things are involved in what we discuss here at Life After Plus One. And what the goal is here is to work through those breakup emotions. Going through a breakup when you've got kids can be one of the most difficult things you could ever go through. So that's where I come in. I'm here to help you tackle those breakup emotions, those co-parenting issues that a lot of people seem to have, how to approach the dating world with confidence, how to get out of those repetitive dating cycles. And most importantly, I'm here to help you regain your self-worth and prioritize you. Because as a single parent, it's easy to get so focused on your kids and doing things for them. You lose yourself, you lose your identity. You lose what's important to you because you're so busy trying to please everyone else and do things for everyone else. So this is about empowering you, getting your life back on track, making you the best version of you that you can be for the next chapter of your life. And that's what Life After Plus One is about, making you the best version of you, not telling you how to parent or you can't do this, you can't do that. It's about finding your self-worth, loving you again, loving you for who you are. And that's the focus of Life After Plus One. So if that's where you're at and you're wanting that extra bit of support to help you through the issues, the struggles, the anything, you may not even have a toxic breakup. You may still be fine, but you might have little things that you're just struggling to get through on your own. Then this is for you. This is the place for you. Get yourself comfortable, relax, chill out, and let's tune into today's episode, which is avoiding toxic relationships. Welcome to the Life After Plus One podcast, where we turn life's lemons into delightful lemonade. Get ready for inspiring stories, uplifting conversations, and all the tips and tricks to rock your single parent journey with style. I'm your host, Leanne, and it's time to embrace the adventure of Life After Plus One. So let's dive in. Okay, so let's talk toxic relationships. How do we get ourselves in them, and how do we get out of them? And most importantly, how do we avoid them? Okay, so toxic relationships stem from situations or relationships that have outgrown their expiry date. They've lasted way longer than it should have. It should have been called off or gone your separate ways a long time ago, but you've held onto it with every hope that things are going to get better. Things are going to change. You hope that maybe one day they're going to wake up and everything's going to be rainbows and butterflies. It doesn't work like that. Now you might be thinking, well, we were only together a short period and it was toxic. So how can it be because it was past the expiry date? How can it be because we've outgrown? Well, that's clearly because you weren't meant to be together in the first place. You clearly weren't a match. And you've overlooked boundaries. You've overlooked red flags. You've overlooked things for all the wrong reasons in hope that the relationship will last. And that's how they become toxic. You hold on to relationships for all the wrong reasons. And then you both quite often know that it's gone. The love has gone. The emotion has gone. The spark has gone. But you're holding on. Maybe you're sticking it out for the kids. Maybe you're sticking it out thinking, yep, things are going to change or things will improve or when money gets better or when I get a new job. But when you're in these situations, you get to a point where you just end up holding a grudge towards each other. And the littlest things that you do will spark the biggest fight because you're already unhappy. And anything they do makes you unhappy. And it could be something where they get home half an hour later and you've had dinner cooked and they didn't notify you. And so you've just blown up where normally it probably wouldn't faze you. But just little things. Maybe they didn't get back to you quick enough with a text message. Maybe they didn't take the washing off the line when it was raining. And mind you, that would probably piss anyone off. But just little things will start to really, really get under your skin about them because you're in a place where you're just over it and you're not dealing with it. And I'm not saying you personally, you as a couple, both of you. Good chance you're both sweeping things under the carpet and you're both avoiding it. Or maybe just one of you is. Maybe one of you is trying to go your separate ways and end the relationship, and one of you is trying to hold on to the relationship and hope that everything's just going to get better. You've got to keep in mind, forcing a relationship for all the wrong reasons is not going to work. You can't force someone to love you and you can't force someone to stay with you. It's going to make them resent you. That's not the relationship you want to be in. So if you want to avoid being in toxic relationships and toxic situations, you've got to be clear about what you're wanting. And you've got to be clear about what you're willing to accept. Now, I don't mean sit down and talk to them saying, well, this is what I'm going to accept. Nope, this is not good enough. We're not having this. We're not having this. This is okay. No, you're not a school teacher. I don't mean to sit down with them like that, like you're going to boss them around. I mean, when something comes up in the relationship that you're not comfortable with or that you don't like, that you can openly discuss things. You can talk about things. If you're in a relationship where you can't do that, where things happen that you're not comfortable talking about or you're too scared to approach it, you're just constantly sweeping things under the carpet, that is going to turn toxic because you're just holding on things. You're just bottling it up. And eventually you're going to erupt because you're so pissed off with all these little things that have happened. You're going to explode at some point. You need to be able to communicate where you're at and how you're feeling in a relationship if you want to avoid it turning toxic. So let's talk about some things you need to recognize and look for as a way to avoid being in these situations. Now, biggest tip, don't feel like you have to settle for anyone because you feel like you're not going to find another person. Don't feel like you have to be friends with everyone because you feel like you're not going to have any friends. You don't have to be everyone's best friend. You don't have to be everyone's friend, and you don't have to date everyone that approaches you. You can have standards, you can have boundaries. Now, it's a common known fact in life that people always come and go from our lives, and they don't always stay in our lives forever. Some people might come in for a day, some people might come in for 10 years, some people might come in for a month, however long it is. Everyone comes into our life for a reason. I'm a big believer in that. Some people maybe not, but I am. They come into our life to teach us something about ourselves. Which is why we don't need to force it when that relationship has got to the point where you're both just at a dead end. You're not gaining anything from the relationship. You're both butting heads. You may have grown. You may have taken different paths in life. Maybe someone's on a path where you want to heal and look after yourself. Maybe the other person is just on that negative self-hate, poor me path, and that's just clashing with your values and what aligns with you. And maybe it's time for you to go to your separate ways because they're just not seeing eye to eye with anything that you say. And that's okay. You don't need to force a friendship. You don't need to force a relationship. If it's not working, that's okay. I'm not telling you to be enemies with someone. I'm not telling you to hate them and block them. It's okay to still not be good friends or best friends or boyfriend and girlfriend or whatever the situation is, and wish them well. And when you see them, you can still say, hi, how's your day? How you been? What have you been up to? You can still acknowledge them. It's not an issue of having hate towards someone because you've just gone down different paths in life and you've got different likes and different interests. It's about just letting them go in the direction where they're heading and you go where you're heading and you following what aligns with you. Not about forcing people to stay with you even though they've got totally different interests and they just butt heads with everything that you say and do. Don't force these things. And especially when it comes to relationships, you don't have to hold on to relationships in fear that you're not going to find someone else, in fear that you're not going to find someone better. You think that, oh, this is the best I'm going to get. I'm not going to find anyone better than this. Why? Why aren't you? If you think this person is amazing and you feel like you can't get someone better, well, if you got someone that amazing, then why can't you get someone else that's just as amazing? There's no reason why you can't move on and find someone that's equally as good as this person, if not even better. So don't hold on to relationships for all the wrong reasons because you're fearful of not getting someone else. Because that's when relationships become toxic and you're in it for the wrong reason. When you're not in it for love, or you're not in it because you're emotionally connected or because you really value their time and you value their company, it starts to turn into resentment, and that's when it turns toxic. So when you're wanting to avoid toxic relationships, don't stay in relationships longer than you should be. When it's reached its expiry date, that's when it's time to exit. Find a way to get out and say, thank you. This has been great, but unfortunately, it's not working for me. It's not what I'm looking for. I think it's time we go our separate ways. And again, that could be a relationship or it could be a friendship. But don't hold on to these relationships longer than need be when you're getting to the point where you're coming home and you're just constantly bitching about them and you're miserable and you're frustrated and you're angry. Because people do that, don't they? They're too scared to speak up in person or speak up about what's happening, so they go home and vent to someone else, or they vent to their kids or to a friend or to their mum or their family. But they're not telling the person what's happening. And this is making that relationship toxic because you're not dealing with things. And then you see them again and then you just act like everything's all perfect, but deep down you're probably burning and you're like, oh, you piss me off so much. You've got to handle these situations. You've got to speak up and don't force people to be in your life for all the wrong reasons. So in addition to that, you've got to keep in mind that confrontation is how relationships grow. And it's healthy to talk about things. People are too scared to talk about certain issues. They're scared in case the other person's going to get offended or they're going to get angry or it's going to hurt their feelings. But if you avoid doing that, you're only putting yourself in that situation where you're getting sad, you're getting angry, you're getting hurt because you're not dealing with what's upsetting you. So you can sit down and learn to talk about it and in a calm and an effective manner and deal with it. And they might take your feedback on board and go, okay, I didn't realize you felt like this. I'll see if I can work on it and I'll see if I can do something differently. That's what it's about. That's how you handle situations to avoid things becoming toxic. But if you keep bottling things up, you're just going to stew on it to a point where you erupt and they might turn around and go, well, who the hell is this person? I'm not dating some crazy person like this. No way. And you end up getting to the point where you're crazy because you haven't managed it prior when it was just something small. And now you've just erupted and they're like, I don't get why they're carrying on like this. I don't get why they're so angry. But you're so angry because you're holding on to all this past resentment and past anger that hasn't been dealt with. And it's made it turn toxic. So speaking up about situations that you're not happy with is how you avoid these toxic situations and how you avoid toxic relationships. You see it a lot on Facebook. You see people jump on and ask questions. Oh, I'm in this relationship and he said this or she said this and I don't know what to do or I don't know what to think of it. Why don't you ask them the question? Why don't you talk to them? This is the problem. People are scared to talk about it, so they do anonymous posts where people don't know who they are, which I respect. I understand why people do it, but you've got to have the confidence to be able to speak to your partner. If you're not able to speak to your partner about things, then why are you with them? You want a partner who you're comfortable with. You want a partner that makes you feel safe. You want a partner where you're not walking on eggshells. If you can't open up and talk about things with your partner, then that's kind of walking on eggshells, isn't it? Why do you want to have a relationship where you can't talk about things? And this is why it's so important when you're going into the dating world and you're meeting people, you need to be clear from the get-go. I need a partner where I can talk about things. You need to be clear. It's so important to know from the beginning what you're looking for in a partner. And that should always be one of the things that you need. You need to have that open communication so when something arises, it's not just someone storms off and disappears for days on end, or they just turn into some crazy dragon where they're fighting with you, or whatever it is. You need to be able to deal with these situations. And knowing what you want in a partner and knowing how to, so you can communicate that when the time arises, is how you avoid these toxic situations. Which is why you really need to find your people. And I say this all the time in this podcast. Find your people. And to find your people, you need to follow the steps of what I just said. Stop forcing people in your life for the wrong reasons. It's okay to have friends come and go. That is a normal part of life. Kids go through it. Teenagers go through it. Adults go through it. We grow, we change, we evolve. This is normal. This is part of life. And new people come and go all the time. That's okay. Some people stay for a very long time. Some people not. And that is okay. That is a part of life. Don't get upset because you have gone your separate ways. Find your people, whether it be a friendship or a relationship. Don't get offended if you've broken up with someone, or I should say someone's broken up with you because it didn't work out. That wasn't your person. Find your person. And that's not necessarily going to be something that happens overnight. It could take years to find your ideal partner. But just don't be put off when a relationship doesn't work and you feel like you need to keep holding on to it. You're holding on to it with every kind of inch of hope that you've got that you can make it better. Don't force it. Don't force it. That's where it's at. Wish them well, and this is your time to find someone even better. Find your person. And another little tip to avoid being in these toxic situations is speaking up. And this kind of relates to what I said at the start. You've got to speak up about how you feel, what you're not liking, what's making you uncomfortable. Partner is saying things to you that you don't like and you don't feel comfortable with, but you don't say anything about it. You're eventually going to erupt. You will flip it at some point and go, listen, I'm fucking sick of you talking to me like this. You can't let it get to that point. If they are saying something to you or doing something or making you do something that you're not comfortable with, you've got to say it from the get-go. Thanks for that, but I'm not comfortable doing that. Sorry. Or I don't like the way you're speaking. Can you not say that? I'm sorry. It's just not nice. You need to speak up. And always keep in mind, if they're not comfortable with you speaking up, then why do they not like you having boundaries? You want someone that's going to respect where you're at. Now, remember, when you do speak up, it's not about being rude. It's not about being bossy or controlling or telling them, this is how it is. I don't like that. This is how it is. It's not about that. It's about just making it clear what you're willing to accept and what you're not willing to accept in a kind and calm way. Hey, listen, I don't like that. That's not cool. Can we not do that, please? That's about setting boundaries. Be calm, be cool about it. You don't have to be bossy, you don't have to be rude. And so many people link speaking up with being rude, being bossy, being controlling. It's not about that. It's about knowing your worth. You're worth more than being walked all over. You're worth more than being disrespected in this way. So speak up and let them know how you feel. Let them know what's making you uncomfortable. Because, big thing that so many people think these days, they expect their partner to read their mind. Nobody is a mind reader. Nobody. And you see situations where people might have a little huff and puff, or they might just go, whatever, or, they answer question in a passive aggressive way, expecting them to know how they're feeling or what's actually wrong. But they've got no fucking clue. They've got no idea what's happening. You need to be clear about what's happening. Don't expect your partner or your friends or your family, whoever it is, to read your mind. If something is happening or you're put in a situation you don't like and you haven't said anything and you're just wondering why they don't get why you've got the shits, because maybe they put you in a situation where you're not comfortable with and you feel like you have to say yes, but you don't want to, but you did say yes to keep them happy and to keep the peace, and now you've stormed off and got the shits. and you can't understand why they don't understand why you've got the shits. Because you think, well, they should see that I've got the shits because you don't like what they're asking you. They're not a mind reader. You need to speak up. If you don't like something, you need to say, hey, I don't want to do that. No, I'm sorry. Or I'm busy that night. I can't do that. I'm sorry. Nobody is a mind reader. Don't play passive-aggressive games. Don't play huff and puff and tit for tat, whatever else. If you're in a situation where something's happened that you're not comfortable with or you're not liking, speak up because they cannot read your mind. Because holding on to these things is going to piss you off to the point where you will erupt, as I said before, and that's when it turns toxic. Learn how to handle things in the moment. Learn how to speak up. And don't expect people to understand how you're perceiving what they're saying. Don't expect people to think that you're perceiving something in a very different way than how they've said it. They might be saying something really calm and innocent, not realizing there's any nastiness behind it, but you've taken it in a nasty way and now you've got the shits about it and you haven't dealt with it because you haven't said anything because you just expect them to understand how you feel. This is sounding toxic, isn't it? You've got to speak up. You've got to say, well, hold on, that kind of upset me. Why did you say that? That's not cool. And they might be like, oh shit, sorry, I didn't mean it in that way. That's totally not what I meant. Say it in the moment. But don't be nasty about it. Say it in a calm way. Speak up. And remember, nobody can read your mind. And another way to avoid being in toxic situations is just to make time. Make time for your loved ones. And if we're talking about relationships here, we're talking about partners, make time for them. Maybe you're in a situation where you're just focused on work. You get home and you just focus on cooking dinner. You'll focus on the kids. You'll focus on maybe getting some emails done, getting some washing done. You might do some stuff for you and you've made zero time for your partner. Why are you in a relationship if you have no time for them? You have to make time for your partner. Otherwise, they're going to start thinking that you're avoiding them, that you're not including them in things. And then they're going to start holding resentment towards you and they're going to get the shits going, why aren't they including me? Why aren't they talking to me? Why aren't we doing this together? Why don't we do anything together? Why don't we sleep together anymore? Why don't we have any affection anymore? You've got to make time because that other partner will then start taking it personally. They might start thinking there's something wrong with them. They might start thinking that you're avoiding them. They might start thinking that you're cheating on them. May not be the case at all. But if you're not making time for your partner, all these toxic things could happen and you're not communicating why you're not making time. Maybe you're just busy, which is understandable. This is life. We're busy as single parents. We've got a lot on our plate. But if you're not communicating that and you're not making time for them, they're not going to be happy with that. It's going to turn into a shit fight if it's not managed effectively. Find a way to make time for your partner, even if it's just once a week, once a fortnight. You have a coffee date. You have time on the lounge together at night. You have a dinner date once a month or whatever time you can squeeze in. You go to the gym together. You go for walks together. Find time to make time for each other where you can talk about things, where you can just be a partner, not just a friend. That's what you've got to remember. When you're in a relationship with someone, you're not just their friend. You're their partner. You're their wife, their husband, their boyfriend, their girlfriend, their love. You need to include them in your life like that, not just like they're a roommate or a friend or a buddy or a pal. And the most important thing to avoid toxic situations is revenge. So many people just want to get out and seek revenge. Don't do it. I do have a podcast on this topic, which goes back. I can tag it in the show notes if you like. It's about seeking revenge. And should you seek revenge? Jump on and listen to that if you are in that phase. Again, it's in the show notes. But if you get to that point, that's very toxic. It's unhealthy and it's very tit for tat. And when you've got kids involved, you don't want that. They see that. It messes with your head when you've done something to them to piss them off. Or sorry, they've done something to you and you're like, fuck, I'm going to show them. No way, I'm not putting up with that shit. So then you want to one-up them. You want to do something back to them. And then they're going to get back at you and then you're going to get the shits and it's going to put you in a shitty headspace. And you're constantly this back and forth. It's like a fucking ping pong match. Who's better than who's? Don't do it. Don't waste your energy on that shit. That is toxic. If you have broken up and you're at a place where you want to seek revenge, The best revenge is to block them, leave them, move on, and find someone better. Find someone better. You don't need to seek revenge. And it's also not necessarily just about finding someone better. It's about just learning to love your time with you and your kids. And again, that's what this podcast is about, learning to love your time as a single parent. You don't have to rush to get back into another relationship. And so many people do that. They feel like they've got to fill that void and fill that loneliness. You don't need to fill any void. You are the one that makes you happy. And for those of you that do follow me on Instagram, I did put a post up recently, and a good friend shared this with me. And it was something that they'd seen on the RuPaul drag show, I'm sure we've all heard of. And it's, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love somebody else? So don't come into the dating world angry and hating yourself and not feeling good enough and feeling shit, and then think you're going to find someone that's going to be the best person in the world, even though you can't see anything good in yourself. You've got to learn to love you. You've got to learn to know your worth, because when you're not seeing your worth and when you're not seeing how good you are, you're settling for any kind of person that comes your way. That's how you end up in these toxic situations, because you're just settling. You think you can't get anyone better because you don't know your self-worth. You don't know how good you are. You don't love yourself enough to wait and to say no to this person. You don't love yourself enough to realize that someone better is out there for you. Love yourself. That's what this process is all about. Now, I don't mean that in a shitty way and, in a weird kind of way where you kind of just walk around thinking, I'm the best, I love myself. No, it's about just knowing your value, knowing what you deserve, and not putting up for crap that makes you feel uncomfortable, that makes you feel unloved, that makes you feel unwanted, that makes you feel disrespected, that makes you feel like you're not being trusted. Don't put up with that crap, because if you love yourself enough and you know your self-worth, you know that you're worth more than that, and you're not going to put up with that. And when you don't have that self-worth and you don't have that self-love, you're just going to think that this is the best I can get, and you're going to keep holding on to that. You're going to keep holding on to these relationships thinking this is the best I can get, because you don't know how good of a person you are. You don't know how fucking amazing you are. So you're holding on to these shitty situations in fear that something better is not going to come along. And boom, we have a toxic situation. So this is where it all stems from. Knowing you. Knowing how good you are, knowing what you are worth, knowing your value, and learning to love you. Because once you've got that, it's so much easier to avoid these toxic situations. Because when you get in these positions with these, or not so much positions, when you get in these relationships with people that are going down the unhealthy path, you can easily put a stop to it and say, whoa, back up. I don't like this. I'm out. But when you don't have that self-worth, you don't have that confidence in yourself to say, well, this isn't right, you're just going to sit there and suck it up and put up with it. And that's when the resentment comes in, and the grudges and the bitterness and the tit-for-tat fighting, and it just gets ugly and toxic. Know who you are. Know what you want. It is so important to go into the dating world knowing exactly what you want. And as I said in one of the previous episodes, it's not about just finding a partner that's going to respect you and trust you and be kind to you. Everyone wants these things. It's about knowing deep down what your goals are, what your passions are, what you really align with, what you want in life. Is finding someone that's goal-driven important for you? If so, then don't settle for someone who's in a job that they absolutely hate, that they've got no goals in life, but they go to this shitty job that they don't like, that doesn't pay well, and they're just sucking it up because it pays the bills, but it doesn't pay well, but it pays the bills, and they've got no ambition to do anything better in life. They've got no goals to want to improve their situation. If you're looking for someone that's got goals and got ambitions, then that's not going to work for you. So that's one thing you can look for. That's just one part of it when you're working out what you're wanting in a partner. Don't just go into the dating world thinking, yep, they asked me out on a date, so this must be the person. No. Know what you want. It's okay to decline an offer. It's okay to end a relationship. It's okay to decline a date or not answer messages or to say thank you, no thank you. You have to know your worth, because if you don't, you're going to end up in this cycle of shitty situations and toxic relationships. So if you're fed up of ending up in relationships that just keep going down the path of being toxic and draining and damaging and unhealthy and just a massive emotional and mental headfuck, then it's not always about what the other person is doing. It's time to step back and look at what you can do differently. What can you do to avoid being put in these situations? Now, I'm not saying that you're doing something wrong. I'm not saying that you're creating this drama or you're creating this toxicity, but you've got to be clear on what you're wanting so you're not putting yourself in these same situations over and over and over again. If you're clear on the partner you want, you're not just going to settle for anyone that's not what you're after, where it's going to risk going down a path of being a toxic relationship because it's not what you want, but you feel like you can't get anything better. So you think, fuck it, I'll just give it a go. If you don't want this path or this pattern anymore, start looking at what you can change. And what you can change is how you approach the dating world, how you approach relationships, how you approach friendships. Are you clear on what you're looking for, or you're just going in to the dating world hoping for the best, hoping that they're just going to be the one when you've got no idea what you're looking for? Are you just hoping that the right person's going to come along because they're the ones that just messaged you and said, hey, let's catch up, let's go on a date? And you just think, yep, I might be the right person. But you haven't even spoken to them. You don't know anything about them. They might be someone that's just wanting a friend with benefit where you're wanting to settle down. You've got to see if you both are on the same page. You've got to see if what you're wanting is a similar thing. They may be wanting kids where you're at the place where you're like, no, I'm done. I don't want any more kids. It's important to know these things straight off the bat and not maybe a month or two after speaking to this person. Know what you're wanting. Be clear on that. Speak up. Speak up in these situations. And remember, you're an adult. Everyone here is an adult. We've all got kids who look up to us. We are their role model. We need to lead by example. And for our kids to speak up in situations, and if we want them to have the confidence in themselves, we need to have it too. They see how we react in situations. They see how we respond. If you're someone that's not going to speak up, if you're someone that doesn't have confidence, if you're someone that doesn't know how to handle difficult situations, then how are you going to expect your kids to know how to handle these situations? Lead by example. So if you're wanting to avoid being in these toxic situations, know how to speak up. Know how to say what it is that you're wanting for, and what it is that you're looking for, and what it is that you're not willing to settle for. Speaking up is not about starting a fight. It's not about going in there saying, I want this, I want this, I want this, I don't like this, that's not good enough. No, it's about just saying, hey, okay, well, where are you at? What are you looking for? What are you wanting? Are we on the same page? Being adult about the situation and being clear on what you both want. And if it doesn't align, then that's okay. Just say, you know what, that's not what I'm looking for. I respect that's your choice, or I respect that's what you want, but that's not for me. That's when you go your separate ways. Because if you give in to that and you see that they're doing something, or you see that that's something about them that you don't like, it's going to get to a place where you're just going to hold that grudge. You're going to hold that resentment. You're going to get angry and bitter about it because you thought at the start maybe you could overlook it, but it's got to a point it's like, fuck, I don't like this. I really don't like this. And you can't make someone change. Once you're in a relationship, you can't force them to change because you don't like it, because then it's going to turn toxic, because they're going to be like, you can't make me change. You can't try to change me. This is who I am. You don't want to get into a situation like that. You want to know from the get-go what you're getting into and what you're wanting and what they're wanting. And also, keep in mind, people cannot read your mind. No one can read your mind. So don't walk around having these little huff and puff, slamming doors, slamming toilet seats, whatever else it is, storming off. No, people don't read your mind. If you're not happy, if you're angry, talk about it. Don't be a fucking 5-year-old by stamping your feet and having your little sookie lala. We're fucking adults here. Who handles shit like that? Grow the fuck up if that's what you do and you're listening to this. Stop. People don't read your mind. If you're not happy, talk about it. Be an adult. Handle it like an adult, because by doing this little tantrum, that's fucking toxic. It's not healthy. No one needs that shit. Talk about things like an adult. Make time for your partner. Make time for them. Okay, if you don't want your relationship to go pear-shaped and to go really ugly and toxic, make time for them. Include them. Don't make them feel like they're not wanted. And same with your partner with you. If your partner's not making time for you, then you need to speak up about that and talk to them. Say, hey, you're not making any time for me here. What's going on? We need to do something. We need to start planning stuff. Okay, so make sure your partner feels wanted by you and vice versa. And just finally, don't hold on to relationships for the wrong reasons. Stop holding on in hope that things are going to change. Stop holding on because you're scared to do it on your own. I get it. It's scary becoming a single parent for the first time, or because maybe you're broken up with your husband or your partner, the kid's parent, their other parent, I should say, and you've already broken up. You've been a single parent. You've gone back into the dating world. You've dated someone else. And now you're living together and you're scared of breaking up with them because you don't want to have to go back to this whole process again of living on your own again. It's embarrassing. It's shameful. No, don't force a relationship for the wrong reasons. There's nothing failure or shameful or embarrassing about a relationship ending. It's not. Trust me, I've been there. I know. And it can. You do have those feelings. I have been there where I've been in a relationship where I've sold all my furniture and sold everything to move in with someone. And they're like, yeah, come in, move with me. And then you do it. I sold everything, live with them. And then not long later, you get the text, sorry, I can't do this anymore. It's like, what the fuck? I've got nothing left. I've sold it to move in with you because we thought this was going great. And you've just broken up with me by text. And now I've got nowhere to go and no furniture. So I understand it can be scary to be back in that position of having to be a single parent. Again, you've already become a single parent and then you've gone back into the dating world. You've met someone. Now you've got to go back and do it alone. Again, I get it. It's hard. It's scary. It can possibly be embarrassing and shameful. But find your people, find your family, find your friends. They will get it. They will support you. There's so many support networks and resources around that can help single parents in these situations like Life After Plus One. So don't stick into these situations for all the wrong reasons. Don't hold it out because you're scared of doing it on your own. Don't hold it out because you don't think you can find someone better. Don't force yourself in a situation for all the wrong reasons because it will get toxic. So if you don't want to be in a toxic relationship, be clear with what you want. Know what you want. Speak up. Don't let a relationship go past its expiry date. When you know it's done, it's done. Let it go. All right, so that's about it from me today. I'm going to wrap it up here. So as I always say, I hope you got something from this. And if you are a place where you're finding it difficult to manage these things, whether it be how to avoid these toxic relationships and situations, whether it be how to manage the dating world, whether it be co-parenting, whether it be anything else, my job here is not to tell you how to parent. You're a good parent. You're a bad parent. You shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing that. No. My job here is to help you live the best, most empowering life you possibly can. So when you meet your new partner, you are the best version of yourself. You are at a place where you know your worth. You know what you want. So if you want some help, get into that place where you want to get out of repeating these endless dating cycles. Let's chat. If you're at a place where you want to get out of having this constant drama with your ex and this constant co-parenting issues, let's chat. And if you're not at a place where you're ready to have some coaching, then jump onto my website. I have those ebooks available. That's an extra resource to help you where you don't have to speak to me. If you're not at a place where you're ready to speak about things, then jump on and grab those ebooks. They have all that support there. And I am in the process of working through some new ones. I'm going to get some fresh new ebooks on board to help you in different areas of this journey as a single parent. Because my goal is to help you in every part of this journey of single parenting, to help you get through it in a positive way. Don't struggle with the loneliness. Don't struggle with the, how do I get through this? What do I do? Oh my God, I'm sick of the dating world. Oh my God, I'm sick of dating the same type of people. Oh my God, I'm just so over it. Don't struggle with that on your own. That is why I'm here for. So let's have a chat, or jump on and grab those ebooks, or go back and listen to some of those old podcast episodes. This is what I'm here for, to help you to live that best version of you. So if you have any single parent friends, or any friends that are co-parenting, that have reparented, that are step-parenting, that are divorced parents, that are in the process of getting separated and don't know how to manage it, share the podcast with them. Get them on board. This is what this is here for, to help people that are going through this. Because I myself, when I went through this, I didn't have anything. Podcasts were not a thing back then. Maybe they were, but I hadn't heard of them. I was reading books and listening to CDs in the car. I had all my Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dwyer and Rich Dad Poor Dad, all those kinds of things. I used to listen to them on CD in the car. That was my motivation. And today we have podcasts. So send them this way if you think they need that extra support. And if you're loving the show, jump on and give me a review. It takes 2 seconds of your time, and it really helps the podcast out so it can be seen amongst all the other single parents, divorced parents, repartnered parents, co-parents, whatever else. It helps them out there find the show so it can help them on their journey so they can be the best versions of themselves as well. So that's it from me. Thank you, everyone, and I really hope you got some valuable tips. And if you have any questions, share them. I am open to answering any questions, any feedback, anything at all. You can message me on my Instagram page, which the link for that is also in the show notes, or you can also message me directly to my website. So thank you again, everyone. Thank you for coming back week after week, and until next time, I'll be in your ears then. Thank you for joining us on the Life After Plus One podcast. If you loved what you heard today and looking for some further support, then jump onto our website, lifeafterplusone.com. Plus, don't forget to check out our Instagram page for further resources and inspo. You can find all the links in the show notes. And remember, you're not alone on this path. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. And in the meantime, keep thriving, keep growing, and keep exploring your amazing life after plus one.